to go into marketing your startup today. And as we'll talk about, marketing is about a lot more than just advertising or PR or social media, like most people think of it, but it's really around how to convince people to want, buy, and share your product. So first, just a quick background on me. I studied journalism and public policy, but really my background is in technology journalism and technology communications. I started working at technology startups pretty soon after school, after a quick stint in policy. And I moved to Atlanta in 2013 to work for a digital health company, a digital health startup called ShareCare, which is based in Buckhead. My first experience at a startup was extremely fast moving. So in the 3 years that I was there, I was the second communications hire, and we acquired 5 companies. In that time, we did so many product launches, and we raised 3 major funding rounds, and I was kind of the communications lead on a lot of those, which was an amazing experience and definitely threw me into the startup world feet first and hit the ground running and all the other cliches you want to use. So then I took over the editor-in-chief role at Hypopotamus, or Hype, and I put that link in the chat for anyone who wants to check that out. Hype is a startup and technology publication focused solely on the Southeast. So it's based in Atlanta, and it's very Atlanta-centric, but under my 3-year editorial lead there, we expanded into covering 7 states across the region, so down to Alabama, up to the Carolinas, north and south, and then over to Louisiana, Kentucky, and Tennessee. Great experience, grew the editorial staff, got to cover a ton of the companies here in the city, so everyone up to a large cabbage and down to, I remember for those of you at Georgia Tech, my first time meeting the team at Sora Schools, which I believe is a CreateX company or was a startup exchange company, 2 students at Georgia Tech, they just raised $2 million in a seed round from some of the top investors in the country. So got to work with startups from small to large. Currently, I work with startups at Engage. So Engage is an enterprise venture fund. NAMI on the call also works with me there, as well as quite a few other folks at Georgia Tech and outside of Georgia Tech. That's aligned with Georgia Tech, and it's backed by 12 of the largest enterprises in really the world, but most of them headquartered here in Atlanta. So folks like Home Depot, Cox Enterprises, AT&T, UPS, companies like that, working with enterprise startups that want to work with and earn contracts with those companies. I also work with a number of earlier stage startups at organizations like Goody Nation and Techstars Atlanta. So very entrenched in the startup world. It kind of got its hold of me and I've never looked back. So here's our roadmap for what we'll start talking about during this presentation. And keep in mind, marketing is huge. It's a very broad discipline, and we'll just touch on these things, but this should hopefully give you an overview. So what is marketing? Why is it important? We'll go through some definitions and some departments that touch marketing. It's not just the marketing department. It's not just the CMO and the marketing team. We're going to talk about branding, which is an intangible but exceptionally important thing. And, hundreds of millions of dollars are spent on simply acquiring brands. We'll talk about your marketing strategy. So things like positioning your message, segmenting your customers, and then targeting them. We'll determine your marketing mix, which is kind of the activities that engage in your marketing strategy. And then we'll talk about what I call ramen marketing, which is scrappy tactics for startups that don't have a ton of money to spend on advertising. So first we'll go into what marketing actually is. Marketing is a deliberate creation and communication of value, which is intended to influence consumer decisions. There's a lot of definitions of marketing. This is absolutely not the only one. The reason I like this definition of marketing is because most people think of just this second function, the communication of value. They think about advertising, they think about PR, they think about media relations. Marketing is really also the creation of value. And that means that it touches a whole lot beyond just the traditional marketing department. Marketing actually touches product creation and product development. So figuring out what your target customers want out of your product should inform your product strategy. Marketing helps you figure out what are the new features that customers want. What are your target customers? Who are you speaking to? How should you tweak your product strategy? How much money should you spend in customer support? Do your customers value that? Do they need customer success? Marketing really touches kind of the entire funnel of a company, the entire life cycle of a company, and it's super important to acknowledge that creation of value piece. So as I said, marketing should drive sales. It should inform the product team. It should support customer success and customer support. And it even boosts recruitment and hiring. So a big strategy by companies is spending marketing dollars or spending time from the marketing team on articulating the value of their brand to potential employees. So think about things like companies talking about how they have good work-life balance or how they offer certain benefits. That's all marketing in an effort to drive value for the company. So let's go into some definitions. So there's organic marketing. Organic marketing is anything that doesn't have a direct cost. And I want to go through some examples, and then we'll pull up some sort of fun examples that you might be familiar with, examples from real life. But these are things like word of mouth marketing, social media, but the organic part of things. So not paid Facebook or Twitter or other advertising, but just organic posting. Content marketing, search engine optimization, which we'll go into later, but it's the value of making your brand show up in search engine results on Google. Public relations, PR, also called earned media. So that's getting journalists to write about you in the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times or in Hippopotamus. Obviously, those are comparable. It's educational resources, so things like webinars or like educational blog posts, and then it's hosting events. Something that's important about organic marketing that I want to point out is the name and the definition are somewhat deceiving in that these things are not free. It's not free for a company to generate really good quality content marketing. You have to hire a team to do that. You have to pay employees. You may have to pay an outside agency. You have to maybe pay a graphic designer to do things. So these aren't necessarily free things. Same with social media, right? You have to hire a social media strategist, maybe a social media coordinator. Educational resources, webinars take a lot of financial resources and time to develop, but they don't have a direct cost. You're not directly paying for them to get, for example, advertised in the Wall Street Journal. These are articles that are written in the Wall Street Journal. So let's go through some examples of organic marketing. And I tried to use some fun real life examples here. So my favorite one is, does anyone remember, and just unmute and say yes if you do, but the IHOB endeavor? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that's it's not a startup, but it is one of my absolute favorite examples of successful organic targeting. So I don't have the statistic up here, but when I was looking this up, for those of you that don't know, IHOP, International House of Pancakes, went on a 2-week-long social media campaign saying IHOB, we're about to change our name to IHOB. They did not say what IHOB was, but they came up with all these really clever sort of graphics and slogans and puns. It generated so much traffic for the brand that it literally was on the nightly news. It showed up on NBC and CNN, everyone speculating what IHOB was. And they finally revealed that IHOP was about to serve burgers. IHOP, International House of Burgers. Clearly, they did not change their name, but it was an extremely clever organic marketing campaign. Their traffic went up the next week by 70%. That obviously normalized over time, but just that bump. I mean, if you just saw a commercial that said, hey, IHOP's going to have burgers, that would not have generated the same kind of bump. So that was an extremely clever organic marketing campaign that, again, they didn't have to directly pay for. It was entirely organic through social media. Some other examples are that in the bottom left, you'll see Salesforce hosts one of the largest sales focus conferences every year. It's called Dreamforce. And what I think is a really good indicator of their brand is that it's not entirely focused on implementing Salesforce. It's just focused on sales. They have lessons from the top sales leaders, educational seminars around sales and how to be a good salesperson, but it's all backed by Salesforce, which really boosts their brand. And then this example over here on the right side is from The Knot, it was a startup, but it's a wedding planning website. And what I think is really interesting is they've used content marketing to their extreme advantage. So and we're actually going to go into an example about The Knot later as well, but they have an entire publication around wedding planning. Where do you get your rings? Where do you get your dresses? What are the top honeymoon destinations? What are trends around weddings? And that all generates traffic back to the Knot. Now, again, they have to pay a team. They have a large content team to generate this content. But as far as content marketing, it's really a brilliant example. So next, we're going to go into paid marketing. So paid marketing is anything that does have a direct cost. So think about advertising, paying for adverts in newspapers, paying for commercials on TV, paid social media, influencer marketing, which I'm sure a lot of you are becoming more and more aware of. That's paying an influencer on social media to post for you, someone who has a lot of followers. AdWords are Google AdWords boost your SEO. So that's, for example, if Georgia Tech wanted to be known as top research university, it could put a bid on top research university in AdWords and boost their SEO for that keyword search. And then product placement, which we'll go through an example of. Product placement can be either in store, so paying to have your display at the front of the store. For example, if you're selling, Campbell's soup, and you want to have the Campbell soup at the front of the store, stores will do that, as well as media. So you can pay for product placement in media, which we'll go through an example of. So top left is my favorite example of product placement. Does anyone watch Stranger Things? Unmute. Nobody watches Stranger Things? Come on.
Yes. Nami here, yes.
Yeah, I
big
thought
fan.
You did.
Yes,
I know other
fan.
people do too. Stranger Things is so good. If you don't watch Stranger Things, you should. You should. So Stranger Things had a partnership with Coke. And in almost every episode of Stranger Things, there happened to be Coke prominently on display. So the bottom left is an influencer marketing example. I personally follow a lot of influencer pets, specifically influencer dogs. This is a very important part of my day and my life. It provides excellent breaks during work. But this influencer dog in the bottom left is selling vegan beauty products. What this has to do with the dog, I have no idea. But this vegan makeup company probably paid this dog a lot of money to do this, and this dog is going to get a lot of treats for this influencer marketing campaign. So influencer marketing is growing increasingly popular, especially over the last 5 years, I would say. And there's now software and entire agencies that run influencer marketing. And then on the right is just an example of a traditional ad. This was in a newspaper or a magazine, and it's kind of a funny ad, giving a little dig from Pepsi onto Coke. All right. So I want to talk about brand. Brand is an ephemeral sort of thing. It's intangible. It's hard to explain. But what a brand really is the intangible sum of a product's attributes. So you can't always articulate exactly what a brand is, but you know it when you see it. And this quote is by David Ogilvy, who, if you know the advertising agency Ogilvy, he's considered the father of advertising. So because brand is so intangible, I actually want to watch a video that I think it's the best ad that's been produced this year. I cried the first time I saw it, and it really, really showcases the brand of this company, which happens to be Nike.
We're never alone. And that is our strength. Because when we're doubted, we'll play as one. When we're held back, we'll go farther and harder. If we're not taken seriously, we'll prove that wrong. And if we don't fit the sport, we'll change the sport. We know things won't always go our way.
And the world's sporting events are postponed or cancelled.
But whatever it is, we'll find a way. And when things aren't fair, we'll come together for change.
We have a responsibility
to make this world a better place.
And no matter how bad it gets, we will always come back stronger. Because nothing can stop what we can do together.
obviously it's a Nike ad and promotes Nike, while you don't see Nike until literally the very end. It's 2 seconds for the last shot. You see the Nike swoosh. Everything other than that is just, not even product placement, but just amazing athletes of all different kinds. So what I was hoping is that someone could unmute themselves and tell me why that showcases Nike's brand so perfectly. And anyone can just unmute, or you can put it in chat and we can call on you.
Well, the first thing is that they are using Nike athletes. So that's one thing, but they're showcasing so many different kinds of people or different athletes. So I think that's kind of why, and just basically what
Yeah.
Nike stands for.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So it's athletes from all walks of life, and Nike is really saying that we're for everybody, and they're trying to promote that brand of being inclusive and for everybody, and of being strong, and of being across sports, and of being, supporting powerful athletes and powerful people. And that's why, that really showcases what Nike is trying to turn its brand into. So brand, the point I'm trying to make here is that brand isn't just the logo, right? They weren't just showing they weren't showing the logo till the end. Brand isn't just your slogan or your tagline. It's really all of the things around your company. It's your mission, it's your vision, it's your values, it's the language that you use, it's the visuals that you use. It's all of those things.
Ollie,
So, yeah.
Ollie, we also have
Yeah.
2 comments in the chat as well. So, Anujit actually said, even with the virus, people are still finding ways to connect through sports. And Juan Carlos Sanchez says, it basically screams, just do it.
Yeah, I mean, yes, exactly, right? And they don't even say just do it, but it's literally like, no matter where you're at in the world, no matter what's going on, we can all come together, we can all do it together. So it's very indicative of what they're trying to do with their brand. That's exactly it. So these are a couple of the things I talked about that a brand should encompass. It's the mission, it's the vision, it's your target audience. So Nike wants to be for all athletes, right? There were folks on there that were just playing basketball in their pool, and there were Nike athletes in the NBA who are in the WNBA who are playing basketball to a crowd. It's your personality, so your attitude as well as your visual identity, which can encompass your fonts, your logos, the photos that you use. And then it's your core values, which are really important for a startup to establish pretty early on, because it's your guiding principles of your entire company. And this over here is a cartoon that I think is funny that talks about personal brand, which is a term that's come up quite a lot in the last couple of years.